Welcome back to a brand new episode of Rip and Rock. And, for everyone's sake out there, I hope you guys are listening with brooms in your hand because the O's, they just took care of business against the Cincinnati Reds, picking up a big sweep at Great American Ballpark. We're going to talk about that. The pitching staff. Rip, didn't you hear that, there are going to be issues potentially with starting pitching this season? The O's should go out and get another arm. Well, these guys have been absolutely dealing. We're going to break down the numbers, especially this last 5 starts, and how well they've been doing because it's something incredible to see. I know we're early on in the season, but just taking a look, it's like, wow, it's eye-popping. Grayson Rodriguez, that's who they're doing it without right now. But he did begin his throwing program yesterday, and you know what? Hopefully it's full steam ahead for Grayson Rodriguez, and they can get him back in the lineup when it's all said and done because rotation-wise, they're going to need a good young arm like Grayson Rodriguez to add to that, and we've seen what he's capable of this season especially. And last but not least, the team is absolutely mashing, man. 54 home runs, that leads Major League Baseball and counting. I mean, they're continuing to hit, guys stepping up each and every game. That and the upcoming 2-game series with the Nats is going to wrap it up. We're going to talk about all of that and more on this brand new episode of Rip and Rock. Let's jump into it, man.
Jump on in.
Big sweep over the Reds. The only image that comes to my head right now is just Felix Bautista with the broom and the Oriole bird just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's exciting. It's always exciting when your team can go out there and just dominate the opposition. And the Orioles did just that on the road against Cincinnati, against a team that is, they're demons on the base paths, man. They love to steal, and they've done it left and right. But you know what? The Orioles took care of business, dude. And it ended up with a 3-game sweep over the Reds. And they're sitting pretty, not only atop the American League, but as we're recording this episode, the Phillies still have to play tonight, so we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
They're tied with the Phillies for the best record in all of baseball. Through this many games, I know there's still plenty of baseball left to be played, Rip. It's a 162-game season, and it can be grueling sometimes. What are your thoughts on where the O's currently stand right now?
Well, again, if you're an Orioles fan, you cannot ask for anything else or any better of a start. You know what I mean? Like, they're in first place right now. They're playing some great baseball. Are things perfect? Absolutely not. But that's the beauty of it, that they're the best team. But they're never going to be perfect, right? But this team, what I love the most is that they continue to bounce back as soon as you can get frustrated or ticked off. They don't let that stick with them. And yes, you're going to have slumps as a team. You're going to go through some skids. But so far, the Orioles, when things don't go their way, they seem to flip the switch. Oakland, bad series where they felt like they could have won that series, swept it, lose 2 or 3, shake it off, you win 3 or 4 against the Yanks, and you go on the road and you have 2 games against the Reds, Rock, where, hey, the Reds were competitive. They had their 3 best arms on the mound starter-wise with Green, Lodolo, and Abbott, right? So they were going to try to give their team a chance. And then the first 2 games with Abbott and Green, close games, and those guys pitched pretty well. But you know what? The Orioles, and we'll talk about their pitchers, the Orioles pitchers were just that much better in those circumstances, and they found ways to win. And then the series finale, they just blew the doors wide open. Offense early and often, producing with 2 outs, putting pressure on, and then it gets capitalized. Exclamation point in the series. Tony Taters, which I guess people were worried about him, Rock, and you've heard me. I feel like a broken record. Nothing's wrong with Anthony Santander, a guy that has been the Orioles' best offensive player the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. He's going to be fine, and I think you're seeing the bats awake, Rock. But, man, it's incredible to watch what this team's doing, especially with everyone trying to find a reason why they shouldn't be doing as well as they are.
I wish I had, access to Elias Sports Bureau right now to figure out this statistic, but I'm trying to think of the last time, and Birdland could probably help me out with this and deep dive, and maybe I need to do some deep diving on my own, put on the scuba gear and get in the water. The last time in a 3-game sweep that Orioles starting pitching did not allow a single earned run.
Yeah.
Because you go Cole Irvin, boom, whammy, as you like to say.
Whammy.
You go John Means, first start back, double whammy. Unbelievable. And then you go Dean Kramer on day 3. And Dean talked about it in the postgame. When you see a guy go out and succeed and do that, it's like the domino effect. It's like if you do well, Rip, I want to do well.
Mm-hmm.
That's how baseball players, I'm sure you know firsthand, that's how you guys think, man. That's how you guys are wired. if your guy, if your brother is doing well, you want to do well. You want to do even better. And it's not like a malicious thing. You just want to keep that going and capitalize on it as well.
And it's contagious, right? Like, that's the biggest part is, oh, you played well? All right, I'm going to play well. Oh, this guy's swinging well? Well, hey, the vibes are high. You can feel the energy.
Electric.
And like the example of, Ryan McKenna coming up. Yeah,
Oh,
Matt,
man.
Like,
man.
For all the people that were so mad that Ryan McKenna came up, well, guess what? What I love with Mac is saying, hey, I'm blocking everything out and I'm trying to do my job. And that is when my number's called upon, can I help this team? And he's done just that, by the way, build the statue for Ryan McKenna. But in all seriousness, he's a pro. And you know what makes it easier? When the vibes around your team, the chemistry, everyone believes in one another, it's contagious to see guys continue to put good at-bats together, good swings. And that's why this team has been so, electrifying to watch, is because they all feel like, and I know this might seem corny, but
that's your MO.
Yeah, shirts and pants, and so they're very intertwined. And when you have a group that meshes so well, they just continue to feed off of each other. And the Orioles, to me, I just don't see this. And this is the crazy thing. I don't think they've played their best baseball by far. But having said that, they still are the best team in the American League. And that in itself, Rock, is terrifying to think.
I got to find the tweet, but someone after McKenna hit his home run, it was like Ryan McKenna to the Twitter trolls, and it was two middle fingers blurred out, but it was a great gif. And I couldn't help but laugh because it's hilarious. In his head, I'm sure McKenna sees what's being said about him. I'm sure he has. And at that point, you got to keep the blinders on, but easier said than done with social media being as big as it is. But you know what? It's hard not to root for a guy like Ryan McKenna, who despite everybody, like, why is this guy up here? Why is he back up with the big league club? Like, what is the fascination that Brandon Hyde has with Ryan McKenna? And then he goes out there, 2 of his 3 hits this season have been homers. That's a guy, listen, feel how you want about him as a baseball player. Personally, that's a guy who I like to root for because he gets it. He knows there are people that don't want him up here in Baltimore. But you know what? What does he go and do? Goes and hits a homer. Goes and hits 2 homers. Got 3 hits this season. I know that's not a lot, but he just got called up with the big league club, I think like April 30th or whatever it was. Or
whatever
like
it is, but
May.
he hasn't played,
man.
He hasn't played much.
Exactly.
He's not, and this is the other part, he's not asked to be the everyday guy.
No.
And again, for all those that are sitting there going, well, he's taking up time for prospects, and we've had this conversation on this pod. We both discussed this. If some of these prospects are not going to have a clear path to play, it might not be the right case of it. And Michael Elias has even said there's a difference of the conversation of if they're MLB ready or if it's the best for the development to be down in the minors. And I know that sucks. If I was a player, that would tick me off just because you want to be up there. But when you look at it, Ryan McKenna's been around. The expectation is for him to be a role player.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? He's playing that role very damn well to start this year. And it makes me happy, man. Like, it makes me extremely happy. Another guy, Jorge Mateo, settled into his role very well. He had a great series against the Reds here. And
Eminem. Mateo and McKenna.
Baby.
Is this turning into a Ryan McKenna appreciation podcast? I think it is.
It might be.
Honestly, it could be. It could be. Write the ballots. Get him to the All-Star game. We'll see.
We'll see. But,
we'll see about all that. But, it is cool to see everybody on the O's producing despite, not being everyday guys or called upon. That's what you like to see with this ball club, and that's why the O's are in a position they're in right now, sitting atop the American League and tied for the best record in all of baseball. All right, we're going to dive into why the O's have been so successful, especially over the last 5 or so days. I mean, starting pitching, man. You heard it before the season began. The O's should go out and get another arm. That was after they got Corbin Burnes. People still weren't satisfied, and that came on the heels of the Kyle Bradish injury. They're like, we need another arm. We need another arm. I get hindsight is 2020. But Dean Kramer, in talking to him in spring training, and I think you shared the clip on your Twitter, like you quoted it and said, like, stamp of approval, Dean's still a good kid, or something along the lines of, asking about more starting pitching. I just want to go through the last 5 starts, man. I want to go through the last 5 starts for the O's. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Corbin Burnes, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts. They lost that game because he got no run support whatsoever. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Bradish, in his first start of 2024, 4 2/3 innings pitched, 1 earned, 5 Ks. I hope you guys are writing this down at home.
Write that down.
Because write it down, take a look at it, save it, screenshot it, whatever you want to do. Cole Irvin, 6 1/3, 0 earned, 4 Ks. Oh, not to mention that Irvin has had 3 straight scoreless starts. He's been on fire lately. And this is a guy that had a rocky 2023, got sent down as a starter, called back up, was a bullpen guy. Throw him in the rotation. First couple starts this season didn't go as planned. But listen, he's really coming into his own, and it's like, how can you take that guy to the starting rotation right now? John Means, first start of 2024, 7 innings pitched, 0 earned, 8 strikeouts. That changeup, absolutely filthy. I'd hate to face that every day in a lineup. And then Dean Kramer, talking about the domino effect or what that kind of entails. Guys wanting to be better because they see what the guy before them did. 6 innings pitched, 0 earned, 6 Ks. In 5 starts, I like to call this, the last rotation go-around, if you want to call it, with these 5 guys pitching. 3 earned runs. Got 11, 15, 23, 29. 29 strikeouts. Okay? Incredible. All I got to say. What are your thoughts?
Oh, man, just those numbers when you just talk them out loud. We don't – look, I'm a guy where numbers are great. Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
But I'm a guy that I always tell you, box scores are not always going to tell the story in some cases, especially when things go wrong. So in this case, if you watch the season and you looked at what Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer's ERAs were going into the last couple starts, you're going, oh, man, we need to make some changes. They're not pitching as well. And you go, well, wait a minute. If you actually look at this, they've actually pitched pretty well. Some things did not go their way, some weird situations, and maybe the other team had just some good at-bats. That's a part of it. If you've watched what Cole Irvin has done, not to say that we're going to expect him to go out there and be the guy that has just been so dominant over the last ones, but you thought if you saw him earlier, you go, damn, he's looked really good. Wait for everything to fall into place and work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about that Red Sox game that he pitched. And I looked at it, and the box score made it seem like Cole didn't pitch well. And in that game, if people remember, he had a strike 3 that was called a ball. Next batter.
That was a homer, right?
Is a homer.
Yeah.
2-run home run. Then there's the Jackson Holiday ball in the middle of nowhere where it's a hit, whereas in no man's land, that's another run that scores. 4 of those runs that happened to Cole right there were ones that in instances, which were very kind of fluky here or there, you go, man, Cole looks way different. Dean Kramer, the one really bad outing against Milwaukee, weird weather, bad defense. If you look at their body of work, they were really good, and now you're seeing it. Cole Irvin dominating. Dean Kramer dominating, and this is a reason why we continue to press this narrative of you got to go and ride with the guys that you have and figure out what you have, and what you're figuring out is you're having guys that are rolling on all cylinders. I mean, hell, Rock, these are not just guys that are going out there that are just hoping to get the job, pass the baton along to the bullpen. They're going, no, we're going to just put our team in a position to win each and every time. Mm-hmm. The way that people feel about Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez when they take the mound, that, it feels like it's an automatic win. Oriole fans now are thinking every time Dean or Cole touches the ball, we think they're going to go out and win that game too. And that's something, if you look around Major League Baseball, other teams can't say that about their starting rotation right now, but Baltimore can, and you're seeing the results happen on a nightly basis over the last week.
You know what's insane, Rip? They're doing this without Grayson Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to that in a little bit, but I do want to ask you this before we get into our next topic and talk Grayson Rodriguez. Where would you stack this rotation up among the best rotations in baseball? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? I don't know if you can put a number on it right now, but it's got to be towards the top, man, especially the way these guys, this last go-around has been fantastic.
I mean, I think the starting rotation right now, if you're looking, let's just stay in the American League right now to start. In the American League, you got to feel very good about this starting rotation. They got to be near the top, and that's no knock to anyone else. And again, teams can get healthier down the stretch. And same thing with the Orioles, guys can get injured as well. It's all part of it. But if you're looking at the body of work, tremendous pitching staff. And you know what? And you're looking at how teams are going to get going. The Red Sox, the reason why they've really stayed in the hunt is because their pitching staff has been really good, and they've had a lot of injuries. That's where it all starts. So I would take this Orioles staff, depth-wise, starting rotation, probably depth across all the boards. Now, if you're going to go star power, 1-for-1 or 2-for-2, I still think Corbin Burnes is one of the best guys out there. And then you got to look at teams that obviously have their own star power over there. If you're going to the National League, you got the Phillies, you got the Braves, you got the Dodgers, really good staffs. The Twins, ironically, that's the one team that's been the hottest team in baseball until they just had their 12-game win streak snapped. They have a pretty darn good staff as well. So, but if I'm looking at overall with what matches with what the Orioles have offensively, yeah, why wouldn't you take this group? And if we're going to do recency bias, to me, they have been the best staff. And it's not just me saying it. The last week has proven they've been the best starting rotation.
All right, let's jump into our next topic, and that is Grayson Rodriguez. Yesterday, technically, if we want to be technical, a little technical Toms here. We're recording this on a Sunday, so technically Grayson Rodriguez began his throwing program today. Recording this on a Monday, so if you're looking at it from that perspective, through that kind of lens, Grayson Rodriguez began his throwing program yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to talk about. Grayson goes on the IL with shoulder inflammation. It was like a case of good news and bad news. It's like when the doctor, it's like, hey, man, like, you want the good news or the bad news? You're like, I don't know. Like, give me what do you want first? Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks. What would you like?
Always the bad news first.
Okay, always the bad news?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your young potential ace is going to go on the 15-day IL with shoulder inflammation. And it's, 15 days, you're not going to have him. Hopefully, if all goes well, you'll have him back in about 2 weeks. Okay?
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I hope it's only 15 days.
I hope it's only 15 days, exactly. Okay, would you like the good news, sir?
Yes. Would you mind,
right.
please?
Yeah, I'll give you the good news
Mm-hmm.
because it was in the same release of what the Orioles sent out. Your lefty who threw a no-hitter back in the day, a few years back, who has had ups and downs with injuries, went through Tommy John surgery, had a setback to start the season. Want to say maybe struggled a little bit in his AAA rehab. Nothing to look into it, though, right? He's going to return, okay? So John Means back from the IL. Grayson Rodriguez sent to the IL. It was like, why can't we have good things in life? That's probably what Birdland was saying because you saw the reaction on social media. And you know what? They reacted accordingly, Rip, because you see your young ace go to the IL and it's eye-popping. You're like, oh, man, this isn't good. The hope is that he comes back. But you get Meansy back. What are your thoughts on Grayson, where he's at right now, and obviously beginning the throwing program today, getting back? Because, listen, man, you add him to the mix, and you're really cooking with this rotation right now.
Well, healthy Grayson Rodriguez was going to be the way I thought he was going to be an all-star in 2024. I think he's a dark horse guy to be one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I currently think he is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And so you saw him bounce back from that rough start against the Angels, comes back, pitches a gem against the Yanks, and you're like, that's fantastic. The only thing that hurts me with it is the fact that he had to go on the IL and having to stop that progress of the season.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Everything goes well. Get him back out there. You just don't want someone to feel like they have rust when they come back. That's my only fear. Now, what I'm very happy about is that John Means came back and proved to everyone that you should not look into rehab games. The most important thing is not the box score. The most important thing is, how does he feel? Does he feel healthy? Yep, I feel healthy. If John Means says those words, yep, I feel good, I could care less about his numbers. You know what they said that about too during spring training? Who's the other pitcher that people were worried about because of the games that did not, quote unquote, matter for this season?
Does his name start with a Corbin and end with a Burns?
That
By
is
chance?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Corbin Burnes, not a great spring training if you look at his numbers.
No.
But he knew that, hey, Corbin, do you feel good? Yep, I feel good. I'll be ready. And he's been ready for this season. John Means, same way. That last start, it always, for players, gives you that confidence when they go out and pitch well. No doubt about it. But the biggest thing for guys that have been dealing with injuries is just getting the reps so that they can get back. John Means is a proven guy at the big league level. When he's healthy, I have zero doubts that he's going to not go out there and be a productive pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles. And that's the most important thing. And then we saw it. That his first start of the year, he looked like vintage John Means out there with a purpose on a mission. And I think, not saying he's going to go out there and be as perfect as I thought he was for that outing, but I think we're going to see that John Means here in 2024.
Dude, it's funny. When Means strikes somebody out, it's like his patented thing that he does. So you'll see some guys kind of put their head down, while the ball's getting thrown around and do their thing. Means just like stares with his mouth open afterwards, and he just watches the ball go around. You can see his eyes, and like until it gets back. And then the other thing he does when he's getting ready is just throwing the ball back and forth in his glove. I guess that's the Means thing, man. That's the Means way. And it's whatever works. Baby. But it's funny if you watch him after a strikeout, watch his face and how he goes about it. And it's just like he's locked in, man. He's like, give me the ball back. He's like, I want that ball back in my glove. I want to be able to throw it again. That's how much it seemed like, and it's a little thing maybe, but that's how much he seemed like he enjoyed being back, and he was just locked in, ready to go, and wanted to get after it, and he did. But yeah, with Grayson, it does suck because you never want to see that with any pitcher, especially, your young gun with Grayson. So hopefully Grayson comes back soon, and maybe what the O's do, they go to a 6-man rotation. Maybe they keep it 5, and they have another long-term bullpen guy. We talked about Suarez, what's going to happen with him. He pitched fantastic. He pitched fantastic against the Reds in the series finale. I know it's one game from the bullpen, but he seems comfortable. Imagine being a 34-year-old pitcher. You haven't pitched in the MLB or Major League Baseball since 2017. You come back, they ask you to start on short notice. You do that. Then you start again. Then you start again. Then they're like, okay, listen, our guys are coming back, Albert. You're going to go to the bullpen. Everything that's thrown Albert Suarez's way, he's handled it so well. And I think he's really turning into a fan favorite. If that first start didn't turn you into an Albert Suarez stan, then I don't know what will. This guy's doing everything right now.
Yeah, he is. There's no doubt about it. And this thing that I love too, he really helped. They wanted to make sure he got his work in, but he got his work in and didn't have to worry about, wasting more arms in the bullpen. They had a plan. They needed to get guys work. But Albert Suarez, what he's going to be asked to do to come out of the pen is probably eat more innings and give an opportunity. And you might think, oh, that's not it's not a glorified job. It isn't. But is it a job that you need and is essential? Absolutely. The Orioles don't have that type of guy in the bullpen. They've been using multiple guys to fill that role.
They have.
And so Albert Suarez, what I love, he gives you the flexibility to give you relief for that bullpen, but also if you need him in a pinch, he can come in there and extend out. And that's the beauty of this. And this is, again, Rock, I feel like a broken record. I said it again.
You are.
I am.
Continue.
But this is why you wait to make moves and see what you have in-house first, because you never would have found out what Albert Suarez could have been for your team. And we don't know what can happen in the future, but what we do know right now, he fits in with this team, he has a role, and he has made a big impact on this ball.
We talked a lot of pitching on this episode. Sorry if you're not into pitching. I would hope you are if you're a baseball fan, because it's a big part of the game. But you know what? We're going to talk about the offensive production from the Orioles, because this team is absolutely mashing. We talked about Ryan McKenna getting in on the action, Jorge Mateo getting in on the action. Guys that aren't home run hitters are hitting home runs right now. Everybody, just like the pitching staff, everyone wants to one-up the guy before them. And the O's, they're doing that. How about this, Rip? The team currently has 54 home runs total, and that is the league lead. They're leading all of the major leagues right now. And I want to go through the 8 guys that have 5 or more home runs this season. Gunnar Henderson, he's got 10. He's the guy. Then you have Colton Cowser with 6. Seti with 6. Jordan Westberg, he just hit his 6th of the season today. Ryan O'Hearn has 5. Ryan Mountcastle has 5. Adley Rutschman has 5. And then Anthony Santander with his grand slam, that's his 5th of the year. So the O's have 8 players with 5 or more home runs this season. 8 players. 53 home runs. 54. My math is off. 54 home runs total. When you sit back and look at that, what they're doing this season, because it seems like this team is on a fantastic pace. The 2 teams that have the most home runs in a single season in Major League Baseball history are the 2018 Twins and the 2023 Braves, and I believe both of them have 307. Is that an attainable number for the Orioles in a 162-game season, considering what they've done right now?
If they keep hitting the way they have,
Oh, my goodness,
absolutely.
man.
And this is the part that we were trying to get to. It's not crazy to think that you could have 6 or 7 guys lead the team in home runs. It's going to be Gunnar Henderson, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And that is my final answer. But the point is, there are guys that are going to go on hot streaks. There's a lot of guys that just have the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and you're seeing that. And I told people last year with Jordan Westberg, and I've broken down how I felt about Westy. Westy has a lot of juice, and everyone's going, well, we didn't see it his rookie year. He was feet away from having more, and it's also another year of experience.
Mm-hmm.
There you have Cedric Mullins is now healthy, and he's feeling good, and he's going to have his ups and downs, but a healthy Ced can hit the ball out of the ballpark. People seem to forget he was a guy that's had over 30 home runs in a season before. Anthony Santander. Cows are starting to figure it out. All these guys possess the ability to do damage, and when you have that type of power 1 through 9, also makes it very challenging for opposing teams. And look at it. For the longest time, your stars are going to get theirs. But the fact that also you have to pitch around these stars, and then the guys behind them can be just as dangerous as the guys you're trying to be careful of. Yeah, why not for Baltimore to be able to break records here offensively? Now, the record the stat they're really chasing is the World Series championship, right? They haven't had that in Baltimore since 1983.
Crazy.
But along the way, they want to prove to everyone that they are one of the best offenses, not only in this 2024 season, but they're going to say, hey, we think that we can be one of the best offenses, that maybe the league has ever seen.
Of all time, man. Of all time. And people we've talked about, I feel like it's not too far off, man. I feel like the ones we've talked to most about the Orioles and if this team can compete, when we talked to Rick Dempsey, didn't he say about this team, they're a team that can come out, smack you in the mouth? He's like, and we asked him about to compare this team to the 83 team. What did he say?
Has more. He thought this team has more talent.
He said this team is better, he thinks, than the 83 team that won the last World Series in Baltimore, man. That's incredible in itself. I don't think he's too far off. Obviously, listen, a lot more season to go, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. I don't want this fan base, coming after me with the pitchforks and whatnot and saying, you said that this team's better than... No. Rick Dempsey said that. Rick Dempsey is a World Series MVP. He's the guy that said that. He played on that team. So, we'll wait and see, man, because it will be interesting to see what the Orioles are capable of and what they end up doing when it's all said and done. Before we go, 2-game little series, little battle of the Beltway.
Yep.
O's and the Nats, two teams that are near and dear to your heart, two organizations that you played for, and you know what? They're wearing the City Connects. Both teams are wearing the City Connects, so pretty cool tidbit there as well.
Yeah, how about that? And yes, for those that are wondering, actually was drafted. I started my professional career, was drafted by the Nationals, signed with them, and then the Orioles. After my time with the Nationals, went to the Orioles, finished my career there. And so, yes, a lot of love for both organizations. And look, I'll tell you what, I'm actually excited for this series because I think the Nats are going to be really good in a couple of years. And I know people were saying, well, Ryan, we don't really care about the Nationals. I care about good baseball, right? And I love seeing what the Orioles are doing. And actually, the Nats realized that they had to make some changes, and they are now on the up and up. And, hey, they've been playing some good baseball, Rock. Won 7 of their last 10. They're 17-17. Yes, they're not predicted to be one of those teams coming out of the National League this year, but I think this is going to be a more entertaining series that people need to understand. And we've talked about how great Gunnar Henderson is. If you guys haven't been watching C.J. Abrams like I have, man, is the guy talented. And they got him in the Juan Soto trade to San Diego, and he has been a guy that, believe me, if you are not familiar with his game, you are going to be acquainted with it very soon because he is a guy that's on the up and up, one of the other young rising stars on this team, and there's a lot of good things. But I will say, I still believe that the Orioles are the better team right now, and I do think that they're going to find a way. At worst, they're going to split this series, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Dr. Evil?
Wouldn't be surprised if they can take 2 as well.
Who are you going to root for, man?
I'm going to root for the guys.
Are you going to just wear the, how, who is it? Rob Lowe. He's got the NFL hat on. Are you just going to wear an MLB hat if you end up, showing up to one of those games because you're in D.C.?
You know
We're gonna
what?
see you behind the plate with like the MLB hat on, just like I hope both teams have a good time.
Yeah, I hope both teams have a good time. In all honesty, I got a lot more allegiance now currently with the Orioles just
Of course.
because of current guys. It's crazy, actually. When Soto left or got traded, he was one of the last guys that I really know on that team.
Mhm.
Luis Garcia is one of their players. Victor Robles
Yeah.
was as well. But, yeah, I mean, the Orioles guys like Dean Kramer, teammate. Kyle Bradish, teammate. You name it on those guys, like Mountie, Hayes, Cedric, Bauman, Aiken. Who else am I missing here? Gunner, Adley, like all those guys. Westberg, like have personal relationships with those guys. So I'm in the business of rooting for the guys and wanting them to go out there and do well. So it's probably going to lean Baltimore, but I love the Nationals organization, and I really do think that they are onto something. So if you are a baseball fan, you should get to watch the series. It should be a lot of fun.
So you gave me a lot of reasons, and none of those reasons that you just listed off were because your dad is like a part owner of the Baltimore Orioles.
Hey,
and,
you know
like,
what?
It
He's-
just
he's a-
like
he's a
I didn't hear that. Did anyone at home hear that? Because I mean, I'm just
He's a grown man, and I'm good for Calvin. You know what I mean?
good for Calvin.
Good for Calvin.
I know
but
what you mean, man.
but in all seriousness, yeah. I mean, I always am going to have Baltimore's the hometown team for me, obviously. So all love for them. I hope everyone goes out there, and I hope that the Orioles. I think the Nats right now. I think they can spare a couple games. Let's say the Orioles
There you
take
go.
2 and get on back to Baltimore for another series.
Listen, breaking news: Ryan Ripken does not root for the Baltimore Orioles. You heard
Whoa,
it here. You heard it here
whoa,
first.
whoa.
I'm just pump the brakes. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, people. Anyway, is that gonna wrap it up? We good?
Yeah, especially after that comment.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we should. I think we should cut that. You think the editor can cut that out?
No, let it ride.
All right, let it ride.
Let it
We're
ride.
good. I think that's the best way to do it. Just stir the pot a little bit. Maybe we can use that as a teaser for our episode. Ryan Ripken's not a fan of the Orioles, and see where that goes. You know.
Yeah, verbatim from Rocco to Sangro, not from Ryan Ripken. But hey, if you guys are still listening to this, we appreciate you. And as always, you can find future episodes on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast. Please like and subscribe to let us know how we're doing, what you like about it, how we can be better. And if you want to follow us on social media, he's at Rocco DeSangro on X and R DeSangro on Instagram. I am at Ryan Ripken on both X and Instagram. We're very active. We put out a lot of content there and a lot of information that are following this Baltimore Orioles team. So go follow us there. I think that's it. Did I do it right?
No, never.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
you did. Good job. You're a good kid.
I am a good kid, and all of you are good kids out there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and we will see you next time for a brand new episode of Rip and Rock.